Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are checking out my entry in the MyOmni giveaway from Waves. I'm going to show you how I use the Scheps Omni channel for a variety of things. I don't always use the Omni channel, but when I do, the results are great and they're quick. So let's check it out. First, I have this bass in this track. It's a little bit too stereo, too wide for me. And it just feels muddy. Let's check it out. Yeah. So we'll turn on the Scheps. And what I've done here is I put the preamp section with a little saturation, even harmonics in mono stereo mode. So when you open this up, I'm actually saturating the mono a little bit differently than the stereo signal. I'm also cutting off the stereo signal at about 176, and the roll-offs are a little different. So what's really cool about Scheps is that you have full control over the mono and stereo field, starting with the preamp. Then I'm compressing it just a little bit, also in mono stereo mode. So I'm compressing the mono section a little bit less than I'm compressing the stereo section. Really want that stereo section to smooth out. There's too much mud around there in my ears. So let's check out the difference. That's with it on, and you'll notice when I turn it off, it's going to get a little bit more stereo and more muddy. All right, let's turn it back on. Now let's go to the drums. We'll add the drums in, get a little taste. Here's the drums. All right, right away the kick is a little bit muddy as well. So let's turn on the Scheps. I have the mono version of the Scheps on there, so that's going to completely bring it to mono, which is good for a kick. I've got the low cut at 20 just to make sure we don't have too low frequencies rumbling in there. And then I gave it a little thump, 2 dB thump. I'm also adding a little bit of the saturation from the preamp. I got a nice little EQ. Pretty sure, yeah, I started with this Jacare King Kick 1 preset, and I've tweaked it from there. Little optical compression, and we're good to go. It's the compression is at a 50-50 mix, so it's not too squashy and compressed, and it's pretty light compression, 1.9 ratio. So let's hear it. So here it is. I'm going to activate the kick Scheps. Let's listen to it. It should get more focused when I activate it. Here we go. All right, next thing I know is the hats are a little bit muffled. So on the Scheps, I got a little bit of that saturation, even harmonics, low cut at 366, little compression EQ. Started with this Brad Divins Audio Bliss preset, and I've tweaked it from there. So let's check it out. I'll turn it on. You'll listen to the hats. A little bit more crispy. I noticed the compression here and the saturation really helps bring out the reverb too. And you'll notice that on the snare as well. The snare is a little weak in my opinion, so using a little bit of the even saturation and thump on the snare with a little DS and compression and EQ. I started with this Jacare King preset. And that's the nice thing about Scheps. It gives you a bunch of usable presets to start with. So let's listen to it with the snare. It's going to go from thin to a little bit more punchy. A little thin. Here comes the punch. Yeah, brings out the reverb too. Excellent. Okay, now let's add in the guitars here. One thing I noticed about the guitars is that they're a little bit too muddy. And that's one of the big things about mixing is there's a lot of mud to get rid of. So here's the guitar. Sounds good, but let's activate the Scheps. And what we're doing here is we're giving it a little bit of heavy saturation, rolling off the low end at 136, rolling off the high end at 6K or so, because most guitar cabinets don't go any higher than that anyways. And what I really like is this DS feature. You can control the frequency. And let's listen to this frequency here that I've chosen. I didn't really think that frequency was adding anything to the signal. It was just creating more mud. This frequency as well. So that's at 300. This one's at 4.5K. And then just a little gate and EQ. This is without the Scheps. And then with the Scheps. Very subtle, but it makes a big difference in the mix. All right, finally, let's add this little saxophone in there. The sax sounds to me a little bit digital, considering how it came from my digital piano, my Yamaha MX49. But with the Scheps, we can add a little bit of that analog saturation and a VCA compressor and a little EQ. I might have started with a preset, yeah. Brad Divins, Fixin' to Get Mixin'. I love that preset. And then I just tweaked it from there. So let's listen to it. I'm going to turn the Scheps on in a moment, but let's start with it off. It's good. It's just a little digital sounding, and then boom. I notice actually it's creating a little extra volume, so I'm going to turn it down a dB to get unity gain, and let's listen again. All right, so that's how I'm using the Scheps Omni channel. It has almost an unlimited amount of uses for an audio engineer or a producer. It's a great plugin. There's usually really good sales on it. Sometimes you can get it for like 29 bucks. And if you guys like videos like this, just let me know in the comments below and I'll work on making more tutorials for you guys. All right, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and bash that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.